Hey, so did I tell you guys about my recent airline lounge experience?
Yes.
But I didn't tell AJ. So so I went to the airline lounge. This was in London, and they didn't want to let me in. So I started yelling at them. You know what I mean? And I started telling them about how they had ruined my life, my family, how it was like a total and complete disgrace, and how like they were going to reap the whirlwinds for years to come. I said something about sow the winds and then the whirlwinds will be reaped or something like that. But it doesn't matter. The point is that I got very, very upset, very angry. I started asking them like what they like to drink and how blackout drunk they like to get. And this was a few days ago, obviously. And anyway, it worked. I mean, it was good. You know what I mean? Like I put on that like I'm entitled to be in here. Like, do you know how hard I've worked to get into this airline lounge? You know what I mean? And it was kind of crazy. Like they sort of apologized to me. One person even said you came to the wrong town, and I said I don't understand. Like I came to the right town. You know what I mean? Like I came to the right town. Like I'm in London. I'm supposed to be in London right now. And they're like, you came to the right, the wrong town, buddy. For fairness and justice and all that sort of stuff.
Wait, who in London calls people buddy?
It's a very common term. And so
no, wait,
Ruchit's story is unraveling fast.
Wait, hold on. So you were in London, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And someone called you buddy.
Well, yeah. Oh yeah. They said that you're in the wrong town if what you're looking for is justice. You know what I mean? And so then I accused them of wanting power and hoping. I was like, I hope you never get it. Because you just want to delay me. You just want to delay me.
What are you
until
talking about? Tom, what is he talking about?
I was like, you just want to delay me until 2020. You want to hold this airline lounge open until 2020. I miss my flight, and then you guys are power hungry.
What, Tom? What is he doing?
Did you show him your calendars?
Hold on,
dude.
Okay,
I showed them.
We've been off for 6 months, right? There were a lot of things that happened. A lot of us had children, and then we didn't record for 6 months.
Hey. Go ahead.
The first thing that our listeners are going to hear is like, I don't understand what you're talking about,
dude. I got this like, I went in there with my privilege and my anger, and I just gave it to him. You know what I mean? Full force. And I gave him the full entitlement. I was fully entitled. About how I'd.
So did they vote to confirm you?
Oh yeah. They did like a thing, and they apologized. Actually, it was great. Kind of not in unison. There were a few holdouts, if you will, that were like, "Listen, sir, you can't just yell at us." You know what I mean? You can't speak to us like this. This is demeaning and degrading. And but there were others who were like, we apologize.
Don't be rude at people.
Were
you being rude? Did you do rudes at them?
Dude, it worked. Now I'm in.
But now
I got into the lounge.
Who listens to the pod knows that you're rude.
So now might be a good time to say I got in the legit way. But I thought this would be a nice apocryphal story as a way to introduce our show and everything we know about. Shall we say his name?
We got him. We got him, guys. We did a bit to start this show. We did it.
Now everybody is listening to the show and is like, damn, that is a good allegory for what's happening with our boy, or actually I should say AJ's boy, Brett Kavanaugh.
All right, here's my prediction.
Bart,
here's my prediction.
Kavanaugh.
Are you ready? My prediction is that Brett Kavanaugh perjured himself.
Is it a prediction? Is it a prediction if it happened in the past?
It's a retrodiction.
So you're just saying what happened.
My post-diction is that Brett Kavanaugh perjured himself.
AJ, I'm very confused, dude. I don't know what's going on here, but so listen to our listeners, right? So like we're a little rusty here. Do you know what I mean?
I'm not rusty. You're rusty.
I mean, I think AJ's like, are you drunk, AJ?
Yeah.
Did you get drunk for this episode?
He's just sleepy.
I'm a heavy drinker. I don't have beer. Do you have a drinking problem?
How much beer did you have?
Tom, have you ever
AJ?
Blacked out from drinking?
AJ, did you? Do you remember? Are you gonna remember what happened tonight on this episode?
No, it's already too far past my bedtime.
Yeah, dude. Let's never record after, maybe 8:30.
Dude, that just means that we're never going to record, dude. This is, not everybody can be asleep at the time they need to be asleep, dude.
All right. So here's the deal. What do you want to do? What do you want to talk about? How are we going to do this?
Okay, so we began our adventures sort of talking about Neil Gorsuch, right? And so can I say something about Brett Kavanaugh? I didn't really know who this guy was.
I did.
I mean, I knew he was a DC court judge. I knew that he was like, pretty like high on executive power, but I had no idea he was like such a hack, first of all. And second of all, so I think there's like three salient points about Brett Kavanaugh, okay? One is his credit card debt / his potential gambling problem.
Well, I really want to know why no one has asked any questions about this. Like there's been like a couple of tweets.
So give some background, Tom.
So
give some
this
background.
guy, Bart, he's been spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in credit card debt to buy what he says are Washington Nationals tickets. And I don't know if y'all have ever been to a baseball game. I've been to exactly one baseball game in my entire life.
How'd it go?
And that one time, it was good. It was good. The salient memory I have it was a Padres game. And what I remember about it is it was incredibly cheap to buy tickets like right before the game and to buy really good tickets. Like I'm sitting like at first base. I think my tickets cost maybe $30, maybe 40 at most. So how is this guy like racking up hundreds of thousands of dollars in baseball tickets? I really want to know. Over the course of, about a decade. And then like in 2017, I think it was 2017, all of that debt gets wiped off the books. He's been basically in public service his entire life. I don't know about, Ruchit and AJ work for AJ used to work for the state government. He's now in a private kind of ish employment. And Ruchit still works
for a nonprofit.
Yeah, Ruchit still works for the state government, right? Maybe you guys are rolling in the dough and you're not telling me about this, but like, how is this guy doing it? I want to know. I would like to, be able to rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card debt and wipe it away in one clean sweep.
So one important point for our listeners to know is Tom says this as the 7th richest man in New Hampshire.
That's true, actually. Tom, won one of the largest jury verdicts in the history of New Hampshire, and now he actually owns a third of the arable land in New Hampshire.
This makes him the 7th richest man in New Hampshire. And he's gonna be. So Tom spends quite a bit of time with Mitt Romney, who's actually the 3rd richest man in New Hampshire. Which you'd think he'd be richer, but he just kind of started phoning it in life, which is something Tom hasn't started doing yet. So Tom has. There's a chance for Tom to be the richest man in New Hampshire.
I'm still dreaming of the day when I can rack up hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card debt.
So this actually did come up in his closed session testimony.
So why do they have closed session testimony? Like, I don't understand that.
So that people can talk about things that are like personally sensitive. They're either like confidential or classified or involve personal information for people who aren't the nominee. I actually think like one of the better things the Senate does is like try to safeguard those sort of issues for people who are like bystanders to the nomination process. And yeah, it can be abused, and probably the public should have more information about that. But one of the things that did come up obliquely in the hearing last week when Ford and Kavanaugh testified is that they talked about that during the closed door session.
But what I don't understand is like, why is Kavanaugh's like sort of financial troubles or gambling habits or credit card debt something that just can't be talked about publicly? Like,
I don't know.
mean, that's not like a who's the collateral damage? Like Lindsey Graham? I mean, I don't understand.
The senators on both sides of the aisle seem to be respecting the confidentiality of that issue, and it seems clear that it's very troubling and that the public should have more information about it. But for some reason, even the Democrats have chosen not to make that an issue. And other portions of the confirmation process, there have been squabbling about documents that were designated committee confidential or that George W. Bush's attorney refused to disclose, etc. Because under the Presidential Records Act, George Bush actually personally has the authority to disclose or not disclose a lot of the records from Kavanaugh's tenure in the Bush White House. And so, there have been other instances where Democrats have pushed back against over-designation of confidential or classified material. But in this case, for some reason, all of the senators seem to be respecting the confidentiality of the gambling debts issue.
Well, I mean, maybe... I mean, but this isn't consistent with Lindsey Graham's thing about how the Democrats are trying to ruin him. You know what I mean? They should, if they're trying to ruin him, why don't they release all this information?
All right. So the debts are item number one. His so-called baseball debts are item number one. What's item number B?
Okay, so item number 2 is the general category of the lying to the Senate.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah, when I retrodicted that he perjured himself.
Yeah. So that's item number 2. I guess there are 4 items. So I'm doing the opposite of Rick Perry. Instead of forgetting the third item, I'm adding a 4th item. So the third item is obviously the sexual assault allegations. And then the 4th item is just like, okay, like what does Kavanaugh actually believe as it relates to like executive power, as it relates to like, other issues. For me, the biggest issues are kind of what he believes on executive power. Now, obviously, like people have different things.
Okay, so let's do item number B, right? Item number B,
yeah.
He lied. There's a really good roundup by Nathan Robinson.
Check the show notes.
Check the show notes. Definitely look in the show notes. What you'll find is a really good summary by Nathan Robinson, and he says that Brett Kavanaugh lied to the Senate.
And it seems like the stuff that he sort of lied about, or at least deceived the Senate about, is like so stupid. Like, why is he like so afraid of like just admitting he drank a lot in college? You know what I mean? Or high school or whatever.
Well, because it's like the basis of his denial, right? Like his denial is I mean, he didn't have to do this, right? But one of the things he said is that not only could he never have done this, but he's also never been so drunk that he could forget having done this, right? That's like a key portion of his defense, is that he's never been drunk. Even when he was drinking, he didn't inhale.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah, because you could choke.
So yeah, I just don't know why like he chose to like lie about all this stuff. So that's like one category of lies, is the drinking, right? Then interestingly, so going back to the gambling for a moment, right? Sheldon Whitehouse in written questions asked him if he had ever had a gambling problem, or if he had ever gambled, or if there was like, it was like one of those like 17-part questions. And I believe Kavanaugh's answer was like, no, which seems odd to me, that he's never had gambling debt. He's never gambled. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I mean, that could be truthful.
I mean, you don't know the all the credit card debt was gambling debt. I mean, you just sort of assume it is, because what else could it be? But maybe he really just spent years and years fronting tens of thousands of dollars to his friends buying baseball tickets, right? Like, it seems totally like it's possible, right? It's inside the realm of what is physically possible to do, that he would put tens and tens of thousands of dollars and he would get, you know, extra lines of credit against his home equity, etc., in order to buy Nationals tickets that his friends were going to pay back to him someday, but they waited years to do it until just before he was nominated to the Supreme Court. Right, that is physically possible. It is possible that could
And they
happen.
all stopped being deadbeats. You know, and they all were like, okay, now's the time. Like, Brett's on the Supreme Court, we should probably pay this. Like, that's what happened.
Yeah. Okay, so we got the debts. We got that he perjured himself. Another element where he perjured himself, Patrick Leahy, Senator Patrick Leahy, did a tweet thread today as we record on Wednesday, October 3rd. He did a tweet thread earlier today where he lays out that Brett Kavanaugh misled the Senate about his involvement in the email theft scandal.
God, that one was so confusing, AJ. Can you, what is that?
It was such like a minor B plot Bush era scandal. So basically there was a Republican Senate staffer named Manny Miranda, and he had access to a web server that he shouldn't have had access to, and it had a bunch of confidential Democratic Judiciary Committee staff memos. And so contemporaneously with Senator Leahy getting a memo from his staff counsel, somehow Manny Miranda would have this memo and email it to Brett Kavanaugh, and he'd be like, not for wider distribution, or, you know, don't spread this publicly, or don't credit me, just credit rumors. And then at one point there was an email where it said spying, and there's a mole in the Democrats. And so Brett Kavanaugh's receiving all these memos, and he's like, oh, okay, I guess this is just a normal thing to get when you work in the Bush White House. People just email you the Democrat memos, and it's fine. It's not stolen. These weren't stolen from the Democrats. Patrick Leahy had hoped that Manny Miranda would email me this memo that he only just got today from his lawyer.
It's just a lot of shady behavior.
But you look at the top of the memo, right? You look at the top of the memo and you see a lawyer's name in the to or the from, and as a lawyer, right, as a Yale Law School graduate, you should have an ethical,
which he got to by himself.
You have an ethical obligation to be wait, is this covered by the privilege?
So that's some lying. Again, I just don't know why he chose to lie about a lot of shit, you know? I just don't get it.
Well, I think he lied because he wants to be confirmed.
But some of these things he doesn't need to lie about.
But if he admitted, if he told the truth, it would be harder to be confirmed. I think lying makes him more likely to be confirmed.
I mean, is that right? I don't know.
Tom?
Yes.
Do you think lying makes him more likely to be confirmed than if he had told the truth about the Manny Miranda episode?
I mean, do you think the Republicans are going to do anything about his lying?
I mean, they almost did.
Did they?
I mean,
so here's another question that I have, and this is why can't the Republicans find another conservative hack who won't lie to the Senate, who probably didn't commit sexual assault,
there isn't
who
time.
Doesn't have a gambling problem?
At this point, that would be the fastest confirmation of any justice sitting on the court. In order to get it done before the midterms, it would be the fastest confirmation for any sitting justice, which seems unlikely given how narrow.
But they don't need it. But that's the thing; they don't need to get it done before the midterms. They could just do it in the lame duck.
I think doing it in the lame duck would be very risky.
What would be so risky about it?
Yeah, I don't get it.
I think there's not a lot of appetite for doing it in the lame duck, especially if they lose the Senate. If they lose the Senate and then confirm a Supreme Court nominee in the lame duck, I think that there's been a lot of norms testing, a lot of norms breaking, and a lot of boundary pushing.
They'll happily break.
But I
that
think
norm,
that
dude. That's come on. That's even I who believe that they care.
I think they would do it, but I don't think they would be excited about it, right? Like, I think their vast preference is not to do that.
I don't know why. Brett Kavanaugh just seems like a weird cross to die on if you're a Republican. Do you know what I mean?
I don't,
because
think
you do have
weird.
other options. Like, you have other options. Like, you confirm that lady who just got confirmed as like a Seventh Circuit judge, who's super Catholic and who's
Amy Coney Barrett. Yeah, but like, she's like vocally anti-choice, right? Like, she actually might have trouble getting to 50 votes.
No, dude, she can just go to Susan Collins and assure her that it's like, stare decisis or something, and then it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, I've come around to AJ's viewpoint on Susan Collins, actually.
Which is that she doesn't believe in anything?
Yeah, pretty much. I've come around that, like, she cannot be counted on. I've sort of come around to AJ's viewpoint on moderate Republicans in general, actually.
But they don't exist?
No, they exist, but they're not willing to, like, they're just not willing to. They're not willing to fight. Like, I mean, they just have no guts. You know what I mean? So, like, maybe that means they don't exist, or I don't know exactly what it means, but it definitely means that, like, you can't count on them for jack shit. When it comes to doing the right thing, you can make sure. I mean, you can be assured that they won't do it.
The thing about the so-called moderates in the Senate is that they're extremely ideologically conservative, and they're so committed to their ideological conservative program that there's almost nothing that they're willing to give up in order to enact the sort of larger goals they claim to profess. So when Senators Sass or Flake give all these floor speeches about, like, oh, I wish civility would return to the Senate or regular order or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, like, what thing are you willing to not vote for in order to obtain that? And so far, the answer is nothing, right? There isn't one thing that any of those people I just named have actually gone to the Senate floor and voted against, in order to obtain the sort of, like, civility and decorum that they, like, pretend to want, right? And the reason why is that they're so ideologically committed to each of the individual bills that they're voting for that the idea of giving that up for something like nebulous, like decorum, is sort of not worthwhile to them.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said, for that, which is they're not, I mean, they talk a good game, but they're not actually willing to, like, do anything, and so they either don't care about what they say they care about, or they value it so little, or it's possible they have no guts. You know what I mean?
Even Flake, who got the courage to be like, oh, I'm going to vote against Kavanaugh on the floor unless I get an FBI investigation, he gave that speech immediately after voting yes on Kavanaugh in the committee. He was the tie-breaking vote. He had an absolute chance to slow everything down, and he voted yes on it and gave up that leverage, I think on purpose, so that he wouldn't have to actually use it once he gave it up. Right? I mean, so far, Flake has never actually voted no on Kavanaugh, even as he's claimed to intend to vote no, and possibly. Right? Like, there's no actual action he's taken in the power of his office as a senator yet. All he's done is talk about something he might do.
Yeah, I mean, but AJ, remember when you said you were going to compliment Jeff Flake? Can you please go ahead and do that?
Jeff Flake did the minimally decent thing that could be done that is still technically decent. If he had done anything even slightly less decent, it would no longer have been a decent thing to do. But it is very technically, by the barest of definitions, he did a decent thing.
Tom, it's things like these that are going to prevent AJ from getting elected office as a Democrat.
I think it's AJ's long history of voting for Republicans that will prevent him from becoming elected as a Democrat.
Dude, he just said a minimally nice thing about a Republican. You can't do that as a Democrat. Like, you can't, like, I mean, what he just did is, AJ, you've basically...
What about Beto and Hurd? They have a love affair.
That's true, actually. But Beto breaks all the rules. It's like saying, like, but Obama did it. You know what I mean? We have to assume that AJ's, AJ may not be a Beto or Obama-esque figure, if you will.
Because I'm not as tall as they are?
I was gonna say because of the classes, actually.
Oh. Okay. So item Roman numeral I. You said was the sexual assault.
Yes. Okay. So there are, to get our listeners caught up, although I think our listeners know about this already.
Yeah, every single person in America knows about it.
And I should say in London. Everywhere I went in London, people were watching or talking about Brett Kavanaugh. It was pretty crazy.
Okay. So here's the deal. There's a day on his calendar, right? On July 1st, 1982, there's a day on his calendar when he like got beers with all of the people that Ford said was there.
Stop attacking Brett Kavanaugh's father, AJ. Stop attacking his father. That's what you're doing right now.
Well,
you're attacking his father.
No, but he's like, no one's talking. I feel like no one's talking about this. But there's a day
About
on
what?
his
I've
calendar
seen it like
when it
15
could have
times.
happened. The right people were there and they were drinking, and he said he was drinking, and there's a day when it happened, and all the people are there on his calendar. I mean, not all of them, but the people, like, you know, the right number of people, like the right people are there on the calendar, July 1, 1982.
I just can't believe that he had the calendar. The calendar seems to be, you know, fairly thorough. You know, he really does.
Does it? 1 week is just blocked off for beach week.
I mean, what are you gonna do? You go to a beach and they, you know, they're college kids or high school kids. They drink a lot. It's not like there's a schedule. It's not like it's like, oh, 3 a.m. go to Waffle House. You know what I mean? Like that shit's not gonna be on the calendar.
Okay, so back up. So Brett Kavanaugh produced this calendar, and he's like, "Oh, here's my calendar for 1982." And on July 1st, don't look at July 1st, but presumably it happened on a weekend. And look at all these weekends when it doesn't say I did any assault. And then but there's a day on his calendar that like corroborates Ford's story. No one's talking about this.
No, I've read about this like 10 different times on like Twitter or something like that.
Well, no one's talking to me about it on the podcast.
You say you don't read Twitter.
I don't. I mean,
your stories are unraveling, Ruch.
Dude, it's time for both of you to stop like making a mockery of this podcast.
Ruch. Okay. So and then another person accused Kavanaugh of exposing his genitals at a party to her when they were students at Yale. And he touched her with him.
And then I guess another one, which is not a sexual assault thing, but a bar fight. So that's another one as it relates to the general drunkenness of Brett Kavanaugh.
And then there's the Michael Avenatti client, who her story has sort of seemed to fade because NBC has had a hard time corroborating any of the details.
Yeah.
Have you seen the letter that Bart wrote?
Oh yeah, that was actually so. Okay, so the letter. Can we link to the letter in the show notes? Somebody. So the letter is actually. I was quite impressed by the letter. I was like, that's a good piece of organization by somebody who's like fronting the cost. You know, kind of a prelude to what he would do his entire life: front the cost for his friends. You know what I mean? First, it was a beach week house, and then it was Nationals tickets. You know,
that is evidence that goes to the his habits and his character. I mean, that's like probative trial evidence.
And he would not just that; he would just go and he organized that shit. You know, it takes a forward thinking and not complete moron of an individual. You know what I mean?
P.S. It would probably be a good idea on Saturday the 18th to warn the neighbors that we're loud, obnoxious drunks with prolific pukers among us. Advise them to go about 30 miles.
I mean, that's funny.
That's pretty funny.
That's funny. Okay. Where was that Brett Kavanaugh?
I think we are unanimous that any girls we can beg to stay there are welcome with open ...
Yeah. Okay, so
it's hilarious.
So number 4, what was number 4?
Oh, his actual like views as a lawyer. You know,
he's a total hack. We covered this in episode 39. We covered that he's a hack. We did.
Brett Kavanaugh? We've never talked about Brett Kavanaugh.
Look it up.
Episode.
Look it up. Go to heartlanded.com. Look at the show notes.
/39.
Was I there?
Heartlanded.com/39. Look it up.
Everything we know about the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau.
Oh, shit. That was Brett Kavanaugh.
Brett Kavanaugh. Wait, hold on. Wait. I'm looking at episode 39 and I'm not. I know. Wait, hold on. Where's the episode where we talked about Kavanaugh?
Did he maybe he was the one that ruled on the CFPB's powers? Like maybe that was it, but
yeah, no, he wrote this like horrible really hacky dissent in this DC circuit. There's this DC circuit case where someone got fined by the CFPB and then they sued and it got to the DC circuit. And the basis of the suit was that the CFPB's existence is unconstitutional, because you can't have an independent executive agency that just has one director instead of a commission with multiple commissioners. And then the majority. Oh no! So Kavanaugh writes like the majority opinion, and the majority opinion is like, yeah. You can't have an independent executive agency that's headed by a single commissioner.
I think that's episode 39, dude.
It's in the Google Doc, but it's not in the show notes.
Dude, there's no Kavanaugh reference, bro.
Because look, we cite Article 2 of the Constitution.
Oh.
We discuss the Congressional Review Act.
Well, anyway. Okay, so it was in my notes to talk about in episode 39, but maybe we didn't talk about it. But anyway, so here's the deal. There's this case called Humphrey's Executor. And in that case, the Supreme Court said you can have independent executive agencies. What's an independent executive agency? I'm glad you asked. It's one where the head of the agency can only be removed by the president for cause. And so the idea is that these are bodies that have judgment and authority independent of the president's power, right? So the FCC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the National Labor Relations Board, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, these are independent executive agencies. And the commissioners can only be removed by the president for cause. In contrast, someone like the Attorney General or the Deputy Attorney General or the director of the FBI can be removed by the president for any reason. And so Kavanaugh is like, well, hold on. I'm seeing that Humphrey's Executor, that case says that you can have independent executive agencies, but it doesn't say anywhere that they can exist when the agency is headed by a single person instead of by a multi-member commission. And there's like a huge amount of like textual basis for this in the Constitution and in the Humphrey's Executor case, the precedent cases. And by a huge amount, there isn't any. This is like a totally like hacky, like bad. It's just bad. And then also he was very skeptical when that woman in DHS custody wanted to get an abortion. And the DC Circuit said that they had to let her get an abortion, and he was very skeptical that was a good idea.
I mean, isn't that what got him the nomination?
Well, I think what got him the nomination is all those speeches he gave about how the president can't be indicted while he's in office.
Yeah, dude, that was clearly it. And that might be, that's obviously the reason that, Trump can't find another conservative hack, because there's none that have said exactly that,
I think Kavanaugh might be one of those unitary executive weirdos.
He is. He is a unitary executive, dude. I mean, like, this is like he's basically a John Yoo type, dude. Where like, we left.
Oh my God. Okay. thehill.com/opinion/campaign 399-217 Brett Kavanaugh, the unitary executive. All right. Sorry. Keep going.
So, I mean, it's a, this entire unitary executive theory to me is just like completely moronic. Like, we rebelled against a king only to have a king.
So what's the unitary executive theory?
It's effectively that like the executive branch has all these like powers that are not actually mentioned in the Constitution. So it basically, I mean, so the most famous sort of implementation, if you will, of the unitary executive theory is John Yoo and the torture memos, which basically said that the president had the right, because it was wartime, to effectively do whatever the hell he wanted, regardless of what Congress had said, regardless of what like various treaties Congress had ratified had said. When in wartime, the president can sort of do anything was the gist of it, which was also sort of stupid for another reason, because at least in the Bush context, we weren't actually in wartime. The Constitution has a very specific thing for declaration of war. Congress declares war. The president doesn't declare war. The Congress declares war. And there was no declaration of war, at least in the way that the founders intended it. In the case of the Iraq War, there was the joint authorization for the use of military force, but that wasn't a declaration of war.
That's kind of a declaration of war.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think it is a declaration
of war. If Congress passes a bill that says our president is authorized to do war things on you, that's like basically a declaration of war.
I don't know, dude. First of all, like when you declare war like against someone or something. Do you know what I mean? You don't have just sort of like a vague, like you can fight anything, anyone, anywhere you feel like doing.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and when they declared war in World War II, they said the president is authorized to fight the Germans on the beaches and in the hills and in the air and on the sea. That's a joke for you because it didn't say that.
Yeah. In any event, like that's basically the unitary executive theory, is that in times of war, the president can do whatever they want. And in times of peace too. Yeah, exactly.
They think that all of the power of the government is derived from the executive. That anything that the executive branch does derives exclusively from the individual powers of the president and not from Congress. And so when Congress tries to place limits on the ability of the president to say fire the heads of independent executive agencies, then like that is a violation of the unitary executive, which says that the entire basically like the entire executive branch, like the entire corpus of it, is actually the president's in his eminence. Seems bad, just in my opinion.
And the other thing is like I actually did read some of his shit. He's not that good of a writer, and he's not that clear of a thinker either. So again, can we just find another, person that believes the things that conservatives need him to believe, or her to believe, I suppose, and nominate that person? Like, why must we nominate the C team as it relates to judges?
I really honestly think that like it's two things, right? Like it comes down to one, that he doesn't think presidents can be indicted, and two, at this point, they're in a time crunch, and it's like embarrassing. It's embarrassing when you try and fail. So they're like committed to succeeding.
Okay, so do we want to make a prediction on what's going to go down here?
AJ already made a prediction.
No, I made a post-diction. I'm ready to make a prediction. Let's just predict if Kavanaugh's going to be on the court or not. Tom, where are you at on this?
I think he will.
All right, Ruch?
No, AJ, you go.
I think he won't.
Whoa. What's your theory?
My theory is that he won't get the votes.
I mean, who's gonna not? How's it gonna go down? Like, give me some context here.
Well, I guess I haven't thought it all the way through. I guess I'm just sort of assuming that, like, ultimately all of the perjury will catch up to him, and he will just try to hide out of the public eye until people forget about all the perjury.
Interesting. I tend to think he'll get confirmed too. I hope I'm wrong. I hope these moderates do the right thing and prove me, and more importantly AJ, wrong. But I think at the end of the day, they're all just going to vote for him. You know what I mean? And I think this FBI investigation is going to be it'll be enough for them, even if it's sort of a hackish thing.
You want to talk about the FBI investigation real quick?
Yeah, do it.
Okay, so obviously the FBI investigation is inadequate, and the Office of White House Counsel like set limits on the FBI investigation. They didn't interview anyone. They interviewed like 5 people. None of them were the right people to interview. Okay, so
and interestingly, they didn't interview Kavanaugh, which is really quite weird. You're supposed to do an investigation into whether or not did they hold on. I thought they
didn't interview Ford either.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're doing an investigation. You're the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigations, and you don't interview the alleged victim or the alleged perpetrator.
Okay,
very, very odd.
But here's the thing that's crazy. So as at the time of recording, the FBI has announced that they finished their supplemental report.
Oh, they're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it should be transmitted to the Senate this evening as we record. Now, here's the thing. I'll tell you here what this thing is. Here's the thing. Guess how many copies this Senate gets?
What?
The Senate gets 1 copy, and it's going to be in the SCIF. In the SCIF, which is it's a technical name for like an enclosed perimeter for highly classified documents.
Oh, right, right.
Okay, so it'll be in a SCIF, and 100 senators have access to it, but they have to like physically go to the SCIF to go read it. And the room is going to be blocked off in hour immigrants, so that at the hour increments, so that at the 8 a.m. hour, like Democrats get to read, and then at the 9 a.m. hour, Republicans get to read, and then at the 10 a.m. hour, Democrats get to read, and so forth. So 100 senators and then 4 staff members from each party have access to the 1 paper copy of the report.
So, so hold on a second. Do they all have to go read it together? Like, does Cory Booker have to look over Kamala Harris's shoulder? Who has to look over Dianne Feinstein's shoulder? Who has to like look over Klobuchar's shoulder? I mean, like, how's this gonna work?
That's precisely how it's gonna work.
Hold on a second. So, like, what are they supposed to do? Like 48 of them will gather in a room, and they'll like
I think
fight
you'll find
over
there are
like
49 senators that caucus with the Democrats.
So 49 of them will go in, and they will all like crowd around 1 piece of paper, and they'll be like, Cory, you read the first paragraph, like Kamala, you read the second paragraph, like Dianne, you go for the third.
That is what I read on the tweeters by Seung Min Kim, who is a great reporter. People should really be checking out her stuff, and just like in general, if you're like really into some stuff that's good. She's got some great tweets. Seung Min Kim. She works for the Washington Post.
This is sort of, it seems this is being treated with like the seriousness of like, how we killed bin Laden or something, in terms of like how secret it needs to be. This just makes no sense to me. Okay, so can we take bets on how many of the Republicans will actually go read the report?
Well, so the idea is that the committee staff can read the report like in the morning for the first like 2 hours or something, make tons of notes, and then brief the rest of the senators throughout the day.
So if they can make notes, why wouldn't they just make a copy?
No photocopier, dude, unless your name is Omarosa.
Handwrite that.
Dude, maybe if you're Omarosa, you would go in and you would just like tape record somebody reading it and then make that public. Like, if Omarosa can go into the Situation Room and make recordings, can't like some Democrats like be allowed to like have a copy of this report to read, like, in their offices?
Why is this report not public?
Yeah, like why is it not public?
So in general, these FBI background reports aren't made public.
That doesn't explain why.
Like, why isn't this one public? Well, they're not generally public.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain.
But are they normally in like a SCIF type situation, like in the highly
I'm not familiar enough with the process. From what I read, the answer is no.
And so is it like I mean, is this like a top secret thing where like if you reveal it, like, you know, you could get indicted or some shit, or like what?
Yeah.
This is a bad process. And I don't think it is. I'm not with. Oh, and can I also talk about how disappointed I am with Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can't stop you.
I think that's sort of
you
like,
can edit it out,
dude. That's classic AJ, dude. You know, he'll let me say my piece, and then he'll make sure the piece is not distributed to our 47 listeners. And they'll never hear it.
The thing about Lindsey Graham
they
is
can
that
hear it just in a skiff.
He's not good compared to some of the other senators.
So I think Lindsey Graham, which probably everybody saw or heard about, like basically went on a tirade, an angry tirade, and actually I think he turned the tide. You know, so this is what was happening. So the Republicans hired this prosecutor, or or as Mitch McConnell called her, the assistant, to go. I mean, he really called her that.
That's pretty good.
I mean, he really did. I wish I was making that up, but he didn't.
Female assistant, I think it was.
Yeah, he said the female assistant will go and ask the questions or something like that. So anyway, so she questioned Dr. Ford. You know, she did all the questioning on behalf of the Republicans of Dr. Ford. Then she asked probably about 5 minutes worth of questions for Judge Kavanaugh. And I think what happened is she was supposed to ask all the questions there too, but then Lindsey Graham got in on the game. And I think he actually, if Kavanaugh gets confirmed to the Supreme Court, it will be Lindsey Graham that is like completely responsible, because he basically went in there and lambasted the Democrats for being partisans, and this was the most shameful thing he's ever seen in the Senate, which is sort of rich from a guy who like held up Merrick Garland's nomination for a year. Effectively, like after him, all of the Republicans went on this like apology tour of like, Judge Kavanaugh, we apologize to you. We can't believe that this happened to you. This is a terrible process. And they just went and like blamed the Democrats for the next
you know what
3 hours.
You know what Rachel Mitchell, the female assistant, was asking Kavanaugh about before Lindsey Graham had his whole tirade?
What was he? What was she asking
so the way the hearing was structured, each of the senators got like 5 minutes of time to question, and all of the senators, all the Republican senators, were giving their time to Rachel Mitchell. And so you know, she's asking Kavanaugh about like July 1st, 1982, and about his drinking, and then her time's up, and then the Democrats go for 5 minutes, and then it's Lindsey Graham's turn, and Lindsey Graham's like, I'm not going to delegate to Rachel Mitchell. I got him to do some yelling. He does a lot of yelling, and then we don't hear from Mitchell again.
Boy, did he.
That was the end of the female assistant.
And so, yeah, I really like blame Lindsey Graham for this. And I think like, so why did he do it? I don't think it's because he has any like special like desire to get Kavanaugh. I mean, he wants to get Kavanaugh confirmed, I'm sure, but I don't think it's like anything special. I think the reason he did it is because he is hoping to become the next Attorney General or the next Defense Secretary.
Oh, interesting angle.
Yeah, he wanted to show Trump that he could fight. You know, because Trump loves a fighter, loves somebody that'll just like.
Why does he want to be Attorney General?
I mean, why not? I guess. You know, he could also potentially want to be Vice President, maybe. But I bet, like, you know, so Mattis is on his way out, right? It seems like So apparently, Trump has taken to calling Jim Mattis, whose nickname is Mad Dog, Moderate Dog. Really funny. Because I guess Mad Dog is not mad enough, you know, for the big man. But so I think Mattis is on his way out. And, you know, interestingly, Lindsey Graham was the first senator to say that, you know, if Trump wants to fire Jeff Sessions, that would be okay. So I really think that, like, he's angling for this, you know?
He wants to be Secretary of Defense and of Justice?
That would be, I mean, why not, right? Like, is there something that says he can't?
That was why he got up in the Senate and defended the justice.
Yeah.
Cut that out. Cut that out of the show. That wasn't a good joke. Cut it out.
AJ, don't cut it out. You leave that in there. I mean, you know, we're rusty, and that's just how it is, you know? And we just have to own it, dude. We have to own our mistakes.
All right. I think I should go to bed.
We can't sit around Judge Kavanaugh and get up.
Tom, did you say anything during this episode?
No.
Oh.
Hey,
Do you
so
guys
can
have
we
any
get
sidebars?
No.
I'm too tired.
You don't have any sidebars?
Do you have a sidebar?
Yes, dude.
Are we
like
still doing
agreed.
sidebars?
We agreed to put on a show. Part of putting on a show includes sidebars.
All right.
I totally forgot.
If you make
about
me
the
do a
sidebars.
sidebar, I'm going to do pictures of me having sex.tumblr.com.
I mean,
AJ, I think you're a little tired, dude.
Yeah.
Or you've had too much beer.
AJ's drunk.
The
AJ just likes beer.
Okay.
He loves beer.
Hold
he
on.
liked beer.
Tom, do your sidebar.
Okay, well, my sidebar is High School SCOTUSBlog.
Whoa, please,
Yeah.
please. Hold on a second.
I'm Googling this. High School
SCOTUSBlog.
blog.
Yeah, and it's just this student from New Jersey, this high school student from New Jersey who started writing about the SCOTUS blog because she was interested in it. And it was picked up by other journalists, and she was recently interviewed on Lawfare, the podcast. And I thought it was just like a little heartwarming story about like a student in high school that's really into the Supreme Court of the United States.
What's she going to do when she graduates?
I think she wants to be a journalist covering the Supreme Court.
No, but like, what's she going to do when she graduates from high school? She going to have to rename the website?
Well, that was a topic covered on the Lawfare podcast. She says she doesn't know. She says she's struggling.
Wait, they have all these contributors. The contributors are all in high school.
Yeah, they're all high school students. It's great. It's like, it's like, good job, guys.
Wait, this is awesome.
Can we do a shout out to
that's what I said.
Hey, big shout outs. Anna Salvatore.
It warms my heart that people are so nerdy about the Supreme Court and are doing it. So it actually both warms my heart and makes me a little embarrassed that, what was I doing in high school?
Not drinking enough beer.
Yeah, apparently. That's the thing, right? Like, I was so nerdy in high school that I was not, pulling a Brett Kavanaugh and getting drunk all the time. But I was not nerdy enough in high school to be writing a Supreme Court blog. So, I mean, just like failures all around.
When I was in college, my roommate started a blog about the Supreme Court, and now he contributes to like big time SCOTUS blog.
I mean, this is what happens when you just really put in the time. You know what I mean? Like Brett Kavanaugh did.
Okay, I'm ready for my sidebar.
Okay.
It's called Pictures of Me Having Sex.tumblr.com. It's by Jake Wiseman. These are so funny.
Oh my god. Dude, AJ's so drunk.
This is so funny. Don't go to this Tumblr. But it's by Jake Wiseman, and he's a comedian. And he has a show on Comedy Central.
I'm reading these articles about I'm reading Benjamin Witt's on I know Brett Kavanaugh, but I wouldn't confirm him. And then apparently there's 1,000 law professors and counting that have signed a letter that says Kavanaugh should not be confirmed.
Wait, I think I need to have a different sidebar. I've like rethought my choice.
Oh, yeah. So actually I have a cabbie update, which I needed to share via text message with our group, but I haven't yet.
Okay,
so
why don't you type the text now and Tom can talk about sexual assault.
No. This is an important point. So I met my first London cabbie that was against Brexit. This guy was just straight up against Brexit. And
are you doing a Top Friedman? Wait, are you saying you found someone in London who's against Brexit?
A London cabbie, the first time.
You found someone in London who is against Brexit.
We have I
just
found
one.
listen, we had talked.
Are you okay?
I talked to so many cabbies, and they were all to a T Brexiters. Like Tom was there for these experiences. They were all Brexiters. So to find somebody who wasn't a Brexiter that was also a cabbie, I mean, that was a big deal. It was a huge deal. But so he said something interesting. He said that a lot of his buddies, if somebody had said in the face of Brexit, hey, we'll deport all the criminal immigrants, that his buddies would have voted differently. But because nobody said that, his buddies voted for Brexit. That was what he said.
Huh. Okay. Well, maybe that'll go at the end of the show.